Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com and a new indicator we're going to be talking about today called the ABM. And it just stands for Advanced Baseline Modifier. And what it's designed to do is reset when we get a signal like an MBI or GAM, and then it becomes a trend following technique and becomes very effective in really finding trend and going with it. Now what you see here is just a bunch of squiggly lines. Well, that's because we have the original setup, and if I right click this here, you'll see it says ABM. What we want to do is we want to remove that one, just completely remove it, and that leaves us with the basic one. Now we've created a new one called inputs, and so what I want to show you is first how you would put it on, and then to what we can do with the utilization. So I'm just going to go ahead and disable this version. So what we'll do is for TradeStation chart that we would normally have, we're just going to right click, we're going to insert analysis technique, and if we slide that up we can see this one called ABM inputs, and we're just going to click that and select OK. And so then it's going to ask us what we want to do. Now we want to leave this the same as the underlying because we want it to follow price. And if we turn over to the inputs, you're going to see that the yellow is false as well as the white is false, and that means those won't show up. And it's just because they're just a different baseline. You can add them if you want to play with them later on, but this will give you just a basic idea of the overall setup. But you can turn off the cyan, red, or magenta as well, and we don't need to worry about any of the other inputs at this particular point. So let's go ahead and just click OK down at the bottom, and we can double check. So now we can see that the ABM inputs is on the chart here. And we're happening to look at CLF at this particular point, and you can see that when the MBI comes in, it resets, and then it begins to follow. So what is it following? Well, once it adapts to the overall low and begins to take into account price, and if we scroll back a little bit, we can begin to see how it looks, particularly following both when stock is below the lines, would indicate you're short, and it really quantifies that red period quite well, and then above gives you the ability to ride the trend. Now CLF's been in a long-term downtrend, so to find a nice little up move like this, you can see that the cyan is going to be the faster of them, and what I normally will look for will be a close below that cyan line as an indication that your trend is running into a problem. Now intraday you'll often get, particularly after we've plateaued a little bit, dips to the magenta, and those can become very interesting setups, particularly if they're off of buy signals, utilizing the other dots. But you can see it came across, and then finally, boom, you get a close right over here that's below it. And once price stays below there, you can utilize that cyan line as your point to then look for price to move back above, particularly if it comes off signals. But you can see here that cascade, even with these buy signals, was still trailing lower till it came all the way back down. Let's go ahead and take a look at it from a couple of other different perspectives. From the ES, you can see follows that trend and fairly decent. Even though it came close to it, you'll notice how when price becomes stabilized, it moves across with it, and it becomes a stair step. Now if you turn this onto a tick chart, you see very dramatic moves along with the price overall. And if we go ahead and put up like a intraday, here happens to be a 78-minute, and in this particular case I think it's already loaded on here. No, I don't see it. Let me check my overall indicators. Yeah, so if I right click and do the format analysis, ABM status, turn it on, select close, and there it is. So from a trend following standpoint, you can see that it held on, price above that cyan line, moved above. Now depending on your risk tolerance and what your overall projections are, particularly if signals just come in and you haven't quite reached the target, usually what I'll look for is when I've reached my target, then I want to begin to follow it a little bit more aggressively from that cyan, and then you look for that red line to catch up. And usually when you get these caught up points, then you have a little bit more flexibility in riding this. Now it's particularly effective when you get a situation like this where you got all these positive extremes and you're expecting some type of a retrace, but you don't want to jump the gun. And so this just allows you now, you can see it triggered here, but oftentimes it'll trigger, and that's when your next signal will come in. So it's often very effective in that way. So this is just a little idea of how to utilize it. I'm going to be coming up with some variables that will allow for a little bit more of an adjustment with different speeds. And if you just highlight it, you'll see the slow speed, fast speed, and mid speed, just to kind of give you an idea of which ones are being a little bit more aggressive versus the little bit slower speed. And I'm going to be working on the flexibility of getting it to adjust where you'll be able to turn it on specifically for a dot. So this particular dot, orange, comes in, you're going to want to try and be able to just convert it to that overall signal, and that's going to take a little bit more time because it's quite a bit of complex programming, but this gives a good start, and definitely a way to follow stocks from an overall trend basis. I think if we go back here, this is the new ES, the ESH13 for next March, but we can scroll back in time. It's not going to have it. I need to go to the at ES, because this is only going to give us that contract literally just started. So if we go to at ES, we'll get a better idea of the overall. And now I can scroll back in time and shrink it down a little bit. So you can see in choppy markets, it's not going to be, incredibly useful. But then again, what rarely is, but you would be waiting for your targets to be reached on that, in which case then it will capture those overall trends. And then you can begin to see that I got a lot of extra lines on here that we don't need. But it pretty much stays with this overall setup all the way through that nice trend run until it breaks down here. And when it broke down, closed below, boom, got a new buy signal, and then was able to take off from that new buy signal. So play with it on your different stocks, see what you think. Always welcome feedback. Trade well.